What's going on? Today we're going to talk about why you should become a CEO and why you shouldn't become a CEO. My name is Michael Barayev, and I was able to build a team of 150 plus sales guys in less than 2.5 years. We did that with zero money invested. And now we have a solar company that's growing like crazy from coast to coast like butter on toast. Now, when I started my company in 2016, I went from being a salesperson and right away becoming a CEO. Now, that is not a good transition in my humble but accurate opinion. The transition that you should be following is a little bit of a different transition than the way I did it. But if you really want to become a CEO, I'm going to talk about why you should actually think about becoming a CEO. So let me tell you my story a little bit. In 2016, I was knocking on doors selling for a big, major company, Verizon Fios. I can say the name now, But we were knocking on doors, we were selling their products and services, and it was an amazing product and service. It was awesome. It was beating the competition with quality. It was beating the competition with, the service that they were giving. The pricing was a little bit more expensive, but it was definitely a good product. We were knocking on doors, and I was making about $200-300 a sale at that time. 200, 230, depending on the product, whatever it was, right? And at that time, I was doing, $2,000-3,000 a week in commissions, and I was having a great time. It was awesome, right? And the challenge when I was a salesperson is that I had very little control of what was going on in that office. The office that I was in, my manager, and he actually lives not too far from me, we're good friends. At that time, he was basically leaving the company to go do his own thing. And the owner of that company basically said, hey, Michael, we're going to close down this office, and I want you to come to the office in Manhattan instead of, where it was in Brooklyn and Queens. And I was like, listen, I am not leaving this location. If you guys move this location, I'm deucing it, right? And the only reason why I was willing to leave is because of these main reasons we're going to talk about, was because I just didn't see that the growth in my life was going to come from going back to that location in Manhattan, right? I knew that there was time for me to get out of there and do my own thing or go find another company. Now, at that time, I didn't have that many options. I didn't know where to look. I didn't have any experience. I just basically said, well, I'm making $2,000-3,000 a week. What if I can start teaching others how to make $2,000-3,000 a week? And teach them how to knock and make a small little commission over them, and through volume I'll become very successful and very rich. And that was the idea back in 2016. I remember this was like June and July. I wrote my idea on a piece of napkin with one of my old mentors. We came up with an idea, and then boom, I opened up my LLC in July 2016, and August 1st, I get a phone call from one of my friends, right, the manager, and say, hey, I have an opportunity. I know you're also leaving the company. Why don't you come with us and, talk to T-Mobile, because T-Mobile is giving out a business-to-business contract. And that's kind of how I became a quote-unquote CEO. Now, many people don't have that kind of opportunity to become a CEO, and nor should you even think about it. But here are the top reasons why you should be thinking about being a CEO, Number one, if you are going through a negative environment in your company, where there's too much negativity, and there's nowhere else for you to go to take your positive energy and go apply it, then I would recommend you becoming a CEO. Like, if the environment is super negative, and you know for a fact that you can change the environment, right? Then I would recommend you becoming a CEO. So there's a story about these three animals, right? There's the carrot, there's the egg, and there's the coffee bean. And they're bouncing around town. And, the carrot, if you put it into boiling water, right? He jumped into the boiling pot of water. What happens to the carrot? The carrot became mush. He became weak. He started being pessimistic. He started being negative. He started crying, complaining. Oh my God, hot water, negative environment. And that's what most people do when they get into a job. They're involved in a negative environment and they become mush. And then you have the egg. The egg went into the hot water. It literally started boiling, and it started becoming harder and harder and harder. And that's when you have some people become very misery attitudes, right? They're miserable. They become yucky. They become hard, right? They become literally closed off to the human population, become super, super angry at everyone around them because the environment made them hard. And then you have the coffee bean. The coffee bean, when it jumps into the boiling water, what happens to the coffee bean? It changes the environment. Right? It makes the whole boiling water into coffee. And that's what you need to be if you want to be a CEO. You need to be the coffee bean so you can change the environment, so you can change people around you. If you're able to change that environment and make it positive, then I recommend you go becoming a CEO, because you'll have a very, very successful road, because you can change other people's minds with their mindsets. It's very important to understand that. So that's number one. Number two, if the ceiling for you to make income, there's a ceiling. Like, let's say the cap, for me at that company, the cap was to make 150 grand a year. I made 139. There was no more room for me to go. Maybe 200, but that was the cap for me at that time. And for me, with my skill set, I knew that I could make 250, 400, 500, a million, and I needed the opportunity. All I want is the potential. Even if I may not reach it, I want the potential. And at that company, there was a limit on how much I could have made, right? There was no other opportunity. There was no opportunity for growth. So I decided to open up the company and create that opportunity for other people. This is how it works. When you start off in a company, you become an employee, right? Nothing wrong with that. The next step after the employee is the salesperson. Now, as an employee, there's a ceiling. But is there another ceiling you can jump into? So if you're an employee right now, you want to make more money, don't complain to your boss about giving you a raise. Say, hey, Michael, or hey, boss, how do I add more value to the company by bringing you more sales and give me a commission on that? Everyone in our company can make more money. You want to make more money? Get me more customers. Get more revenue for the company. You'll get more money, right? You get a piece of that. And that's how it works. After a salesperson, you become a sales leader. Now, a sales leader, now you're responsible for other people, not just sales, not just regular workload. You're responsible for other human beings. Okay? Now, as a sales leader, there's more commission to make. You can make an override on your team. And that's the opportunity we gave people to make commissions off their teams, right? And then you have a sales manager, right? Now you're managing a whole office, a location. And now you have more responsibility, but the potential is there. And then you have being a CEO or even a COO, because at the end of the day, CEO, COO, or CFO, those three positions are very important in the company, right? Like, can you handle finance? Can you handle the operations? Can you handle being the leader of the company and making sure the company's going in the right direction? A lot of people, what they do, they want to jump from employee all the way to CEO. In my opinion, you should not be making that drastic change. The only reason why I was able to go from salesperson to CEO was because I was already working on my side business. I was already doing this. That's the only reason why I was able to jump to CEO. But most people need to go through the progression of learning the skill set of how to be an employee, how to be a salesperson, how to be a sales leader, how to be a sales manager, how to deal with certain processes and systems and people and leadership, and then you can become a CEO. Because I see a lot of people that become a CEO on their LinkedIn account or a CEO on their Instagram bio, but they have no skill set. And everybody wants to be an entrepreneur these days, but what it really takes is a lot of sacrifice. And there's a lot of skill sets that are required to become an effective growing CEO, right? Next, if you want to become a CEO, you got to challenge yourself. Just understand that, right? So a lot of times, if you want to become a CEO, the only reason why you should do it is if you want to challenge yourself. It is going to be one of the most biggest challenges in your entire life. You see, the challenge over here is much greater than the challenge over here. Understand that. There's a reason why CEOs can make $1 million, $10 million, even $100 million a year. Whereas an employee is capped at a certain amount of money, maybe 250, maybe some employees can make 500K, right? Maybe, but there's a cap to that. There's a reason for that because the reward gets bigger as you take on more risk. The reward gets bigger as you sacrifice more, as you challenge yourself more. So the bigger the challenge, the bigger the reward. So if you're ready for that big challenge, then you should become a CEO. If you're not ready, what I recommend is take those stepping stones and get acquainted with all these different challenges that comes with every single position. Okay? Next, if you want to impact the world with your idea, your product, your service, that's when you should become a CEO. If you really just want to become a CEO to make more money, I promise you're going to quit. If money is the only motivator to your dream of becoming a CEO, it's not going to last long. You need to become a CEO if you want to make a difference in the world with your product or your service. In my mind, at 2016, I had a dream. I wanted to impact all my sales guys to have the same opportunity as me to make as much money as possible. I was so amazed by the skill set of sales that I wanted to change their life with it. So I was very passionate with this. So for the first 9 months when I was losing a lot of money and not making the same money that I was when I was knocking on doors, it was very challenging. But I didn't give up because I wasn't doing it just for the money. I was doing it because there was a bigger cause behind it. There was a bigger mission behind it. And when you have a bigger cause and a bigger mission because you want to impact other people or impact the planet or impact whatever, then you're going to stick it through when things get tough. When things are not easy, that's when you need to be sticking it through. Because that's what really makes a difference between a CEO that's successful and a CEO that's in the graveyard, that literally died with his music inside of him. So in order to become successful, in my opinion, with building a company as a CEO, you have to be prepared for that challenge. You have to be prepared mentally for that punch in the face. And if you're able to take the punch in the face, believe me, you'll make it, right? Because you have to understand that impacting the world is where the fume and the energy comes from actually pursuing the bigger dream and the bigger cause without giving up and quitting. You have to have that fire inside of you. There has to be that burning desire. Next, understand that you being a CEO is not an upgrade. If you're willing to take a sacrifice, see, most people think that becoming a CEO is an upgrade. It is not an upgrade. It is a sacrifice. Right now, my sales guys are able to make $4, $5, $6, $7, $8, $9, $10,000 on a deal. That is not the case for me because I took a sacrifice. Does that make sense? I could go out there right now and make $5, 10 grand a deal. I definitely can do that. But I took a sacrifice to be the CEO because I need to build a company and make it sustainable for everyone around me. I am responsible for multiple people. I'm responsible for their families, hundreds of families I'm responsible for. And that's a sacrifice. So when people think, oh, I'm going to be a CEO to make more money, yeah, the money will come. There's a reward for it, but there's a sacrifice in the beginning. I got a phone call this Friday from one of my partner companies. Hey, we're not doing X, Y, and Z anymore. Literally, I almost panicked. But thank God I figured it out, and by Monday morning, it was figured out. But not everyone can do that. Like, I almost had a freaking panic attack on Saturday night and Sunday morning because it was a challenging situation. So my question to you is this: are you willing to sacrifice? Because you're not getting an upgrade to be a CEO. Don't think that it's the Instagram glamour with the Lamborghinis and all this other shit. That will come when there's a time and place for that. But there's going to be a lot of sacrifice. And if you're willing to go through the sacrifice and understand that it's not an upgrade, then you should become a CEO. My name is Michael Barayev. You guys know I bring value to you guys every single week. Do me a solid favor. If you love this kind of content, drop a like, drop a comment, subscribe to the channel, click the little notification bell, and we'll see you guys at 100,000 plus subscribers, and I need your help. So do me a solid and share the video, and we'll see you guys in the next video.